Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the course code Eng455 lecture number 9. I am your instructor Dr. Ansa Hamid. Today we are going to start with another level of the language, that is morphology. If you remember, in our previous lecture we were done with the phonetics and phonology. Our last lecture was based on the two different areas of knowledge in phonology, that were co-articulation effects and the suprasegmental features. The co-articulation effects were about that when we try to produce instead of two sounds simultaneously, then the co-articulation effect is created. And inside the co-articulation effects we have two types of effects, that were assimilation and elision. Then we also dealt with the suprasegmental features, another important aspect in phonology. In suprasegmental features we started with the syllables, how to divide words into syllables or the combination of sounds into syllables, and then we studied stress, intonation and tone patterns, that how with the help of these suprasegmental features, not exactly the language but the something related to language, such features can be created. So with those features we ended our lectures on phonology and phonetics. Now today our major focus areas are morphology and other branch of linguistics, another discipline of knowledge, study about the words. Now we are moving from the level of words towards the next level, sounds, towards the next level, that is words. So today we will discuss what is morphology, what it is all about, when we say that morphology is about words, then words are, what are the different definitions of words, and which one are refuted one and which one are accepted one. Then we will talk about the morpheme, the smallest unit in the morphological study. Then we will compare morpheme with lexeme, with word and with phoneme, that how morpheme is different from all these terminologies, because especially while studying morphology we tend to confuse the study of morphemes with the study of words, which are in fact two different things. Morphology is about morpheme rather than words, but sometimes we can call it that morphology is all about the words. So at what level of language we are, we will see today. Yes, if you remember, when we started talking about the language as a major scope in linguistics, as something which is studied in linguistics, then we talked about the levels of language with bottom-up approach. In these levels of language, the smallest area of the smallest particle of knowledge was the sound, phone, and the study of that phones or sounds, human speech sounds, is known as phonetics. Then we moved towards the next level, which were about the human speech sound, but in relation to certain languages of the world. So after the phonology, when the sounds, human speech sound, we take them, then we combine human speech sounds, and then we form what we gather are the words. So morphology is actually about the words, or something we call morpheme, that we will discuss what morpheme is today. So now we are at the third level of language, which is morphology. We are still have to deal with the syntax, semantics and pragmatics. But to make it clear, we are now moving up in upward direction, because the levels of language which are mentioned over here from top to bottom are actually in the bottom up approach, because we started with the smallest human speech sound segment, and then we are now on the combination of speech sound, and that make words or something like morphemes. So today we are going to start with morphology. Morphology. The word morphology itself is a Greek word made up of two words, morph and logy. Morph is something which meant as form, the structure, whereas logy, with reference to biology and psychology and physiology, you have some knowledge that logy means knowledge or the study. When we study something, we add it with logi. It's a Greek word from logos, which means to study or to get knowledge. So morphology is the study of the forms. This is the definition of morphology that we get from its etymological roots. So morphology, the study of forms, but here the forms are specifically and more specifically are about the words. We are not concerned about the forms of the sentences, but rather in morphology we are concerned with the forms or the structure of the words, because morphology on the whole is study about words or something like morphemes. It is a structure level above phonology and below syntax. Yes, we study also the structure of language. Syntax is also the structure of language. Phonology is also about the structure of language, but phonology is about the structure of language with related to sounds, whereas the syntax is about the structure of the language with respect to something bigger than words like phrases, clauses and sentences. But morphology is typically about the structure of the words. There are some standard definitions of morphology as well, which are these. The first definition is from the Tarni Prasad book, page 48. Morphology is the study of patterns of words formations, that how the words they are formed, how the words are formulated, how the new words they are formulated, and how the existing words, what are their patterns, and within and across languages. In all languages we have words, and how these words are formed, what are the structures of these words, what is the patterning structure of these words. It is all the concern of morphology. If you remember, the definition of morphology was something like that, but the only difference was that phonology is the study of patterning of sounds, whereas morphology is the study of patterns of words and words formations, not only in one particular language but across in all the languages, because we know that words are the something that belong to almost all the languages of the world. Another definition of morphology is, it is the area of grammar, something like grammatic, because morphology is related to grammatical aspects of language. According to Fromkin and Hamas, the book is Language, Its Nature, Psychology and Grammatical Aspects. So in the grammatical aspects areas, they discuss morphology. So morphology somehow is something like grammar, concerned with the structure of words. Once again, the focus of the definition is structure of words, and with relationships between words involving the morphemes that compose them. We will study this, that words, they are actually made up of morphemes, and morphemes are the smallest indivisible particles inside the words, beyond which a word cannot be divided. So morphology is all about the structure of words and something the words composed of, and what the words composed of are morpheme. So this is the knowledge of morphology. Another definition from page 131, morphology is science of word forms. Once again, the focus is on the word word and its forms, that is structure, because morphology is basically the knowledge about the words forms, and what are the patterns of the words, what are the things words comprised of. These all sorts of, and this all kind of knowledge about word falls into the category of the morphology. So today our focus is morphology. As we have discussed that morphology is all about words, the word structures, the word forms, the patterns of words, and the things that words are composed of. So if morphology is about words, then words are something which are not mean peculiar to some 10 languages of the world, but actually words are some things which we are common, which are very common to use. We play with words when we talk. Yes, we arrange these words in certain grammatical patterns to make sentences, but still there are words. We make use of words, we play with words, we know a lot of words. According to a research, the children, they know words, they have a words limit around 13,000 words. A child knows around 13,000 words, whereas an adult, he can know around 60,000 words. And all the languages of the world, they are basically composed of words, and there are millions of words. For example, in English, around 4 million words are there in English language. So words are everywhere. Words are something which are common to almost all the languages, and our knowledge of a language is basically comprised of these knowledge of the words and the grammatical pattern, the ways we can arrange these words to get certain meanings. But once again, our knowledge of words helps us to use a certain language. If we know the grammar of a language, but we don't know the words inside that language, then definitely we cannot use that language. Even we cannot understand that language, because if I know English language, the patterning English language, but I don't know the words, what is meant by boy, what is meant by red, what is meant by shirt, then how I can know what is the meaning of the boy in the red shirt? The boy is wearing the red shirt, because if I don't have the knowledge of these words. So at individual level, the knowledge of the words is very much important to know our language. So words are the basic things in morphology, something common to all languages. But the question arises, what is a word? Do you know what is a word? Think about a solid definition. What is a word? If you don't know, let me tell you that word is something complicated, a complicated word. So I can say that word is a complicated word because it has different definitions with respect to different disciplines. Word has orthographical definition, the word has a phonological definition, word has semantic definition, and word has syntactic definition. Every discipline defines word in its own way with respect to the ways they use the terminology word. How the orthographical knowledge of language, they use word, they define it in the same way. Similarly, the phonological aspect of the knowledge, they define the word in their own way, and semantic in their own way, and syntactic on their own way. So all these branches of the knowledge or the disciplines of linguistics, they define a knowledge according to their own perspectives. So we will see what are these definitions, what are the weaknesses, and what are the definitions which we can accept, and what are the definitions which we can refute. So we will start with the very first definition. Yes, word with respect to orthographical definition. Now it's important to make clear over here what is orthography. If you remember, orthography is about the written symbols of language. It is about the written alphabets. It is not about the oral language, it is all about the written language. The way we write the alphabets in a certain language, they come in the category of orthography. It is a branch of knowledge which deals with the written alphabets or written symbols of the words, of the sounds rather. So with respect to orthography, the definition is words as units in the writing system. Words are uninterrupted strings of letter. So with respect to orthography, words are, if we see, if in our written language, when we see words, how we can identify that these are the words? A boy named as Jack. Now what are the words in written form? A boy named as Jack. When we will read it, every single combination of letters, we will treat them as words. And this treatment is based on the fact that we know that in written language, every word is separated by every other word with the help of spaces. So when we see spaces in between the words, we treat the word that this is a word, and then there is a space, and then there is the next word, then there is the space, and there is the next word. So this way we calculate the number of words in written language, because we know the words, they are composed of the alphabets, they have the proper spelling, and they have some written form and separated by some spaces. For example, writing. Now writing itself is a word. When we see it in written form, we will identify it, because we know that W-R-I-T-I-N-G, it is the spelling for the word writing. And second important thing, when we will see them, we will see that on the sides of this word writing, we will find spaces. Wherever you will use this word writing, you will create leave space on both sides of it. I am writing. You will not write all together, but you will write in the form I space am space writing. He is writing a letter. He space is space writing space a space letter. So everywhere around the words there are spaces, and that is the way we identify the words in orthographical representation of language. But there are certain complications with this definition. What are these? Yes. The problems with orthographical definitions are that when we make use of the pronunciation marks, when we make use of the punctuation marks, then we get a problem. Because how many punctuation marks can you use to differentiate between the different words? Sometimes we separate words with the help of colons, semicolons, commas, and hyphens, and all these things are there, and apostrophes even. So can you think of instances of words characterized by different spellings? Yes, it happens that they have the different spelling, single way of pronunciation, but different spelling, like soul. Now two different spellings but single pronunciation. So in orthographic form we can identify what these spellings are, but still we have confusion with the words like bank. I went to bank. Which bank? The bank of the river, or the bank where you deposit money. So there are confusions with the words in orthographic form. Similarly, if I talk about the word desert and desert, D-E-S-S-E-R-T, if I see this word in orthographic in written form, I won't be clear about its meaning, whether this D-E-S-S-E-R-T stands for desert, a desert, a place without water and comprised of sands and all that, or this is a word dessert, which means something sweet, a sweet dish. So this way there are problems to identify the words with respect to their meanings. Then what about the compound nouns? If you see like the words dining room. Now dining and room, if I accept the orthographic definition that words are separated by the spaces, then dining and room both have space in between. So should I treat them as two different words? But my knowledge tells me that dining room is a single word, it is a compound noun. So this way the orthographical definition of the word word is has certain complications. Now we will see a word with respect to phonological definition. So if we accept the orthographic definition of word word, then can you tell me how many words are there in the following sentences? Please read the sentences and count them. Read the first sentence. John's girlfriend lives in a high-rise apartment building. Count the words. Good. Now read the second sentence. Marries a policewoman in the United States. Please count the words. Good. Now if you have counted the words, now keep them with you and now look at these. Now look at the problems. John's, the first word John's and the first word in the second sentence marries. Have you counted them as one word or two words? One or two? Yes, you would be confused about that, and definitely you should, because we know that John's and Mary's both are using apostrophe, and we read it with context. Inside the context, then we know then John's, the first one John's apostrophe showing the possession, John's girlfriend, it means the girlfriend of John. And in the second place, there's marries a police woman. Marries here is again is apostrophe s, but here marries doesn't mean a possessive possessive noun. Rather, it is marry is a contraction for the marry is. Marry is a policeman woman. So marry and is, they are the two words. But have you counted marries as a single? Then there would be a problem. So this way in writing we get confused when, especially when there are the apostrophes are used, and we are unable to count the number of exactly the number of words inside them. Now look at the very first sentence, high rise. If you consider that the punctuation mark used over here, that is a hyphen, is separating two words, then high and rise are two words. But as you know that high rise is a single word. It is an adjective. It is a compound adjective. So this way, this orthographic knowledge about knowledge or the definition of the word is quite confused. You will be confused while counting the number of words, because the definition stands for something else, and in reality we face certain different things. Now another thing. The orthographic word may not coincide with our institutions, because the way we perceive certain things, the way we believe in certain things, but the orthographic definition, it tells us something different. For example, it has problems with compound nouns, especially apartment, building, parking ticket. Have you bought the parking ticket? Now in this sentence, would you treat parking ticket as a single word or two words? Yes, definitely there would be a problem with respect to the definition of, again, orthographical definition. What was that? That words have spellings and they are separated by spaces. So if the words are separated by spaces, then parking ticket seems to be two words. But our knowledge tells us that it's a one compound noun. Similarly, ground floor, United States. Similarly, we have would be having problem with phrasal verbs. Get up early in the morning. Get up, one single verb. But get up, according to the orthographic definition, are two words. So once again, confusion. look after, put up with. So these kind of phrasal verbs and the compound nouns, they create problems if we accept the orthographic definitions of the word word. Now our next concern is the phonological definition. What is the phonological definition? Because phonology is concerned with the knowledge of sounds, then phonological definition takes words as phonological units. What does mean by phonological units is that spoken in isolation, each word can only have one main stress. So two things in this definition. One, we define the word with respect to the way we pronounce it. In isolation, and how we create isolation? Yes, with the help of usually pauses. We can, if I want to make clear how many words are there I'm using in my sentence, I would create pauses. I went there. Though we don't do this in rapid speed because we identify the words, but usually the word they are separated with the help of pauses. And another important distinction, that is the use of stress. There are the words, every single word according to this definition, phonological definition, every single word that is spoken, that is uttered, has stress. So we can identify words with respect to phonological definition with help of two things. One, isolation from the other words, and secondly the stress. Stress is a mark to identify them. Now, for example, words as elements of the system. Now look at this definition. The underlined characters, they indicate the main stress. Words, elements, system. So they show that these are the words. So again, confusion. If I accept that if words, elements and system, they have stress, so they are the words. So what about as, of, the? Aren't they words? Yes, again, with the phonological definition we have problem. First of all, the phonological definition, because if with respect to it, stress is an important mark to identify words. Then what about the function words? Because in our rapid speech, we do not stress on the function words. Yes, the function words like of, the, in, these words, they are never stressed. So these function words, with respect to phonological definitions, they are not words. Again, a confusion. Now there is another problem, that is of clitics. Now what is this cliches or clitics? That is sa in the example below do not seem to have a main stress. Now which example? Once again, the example in which I said say gardens. If I say gardens, now I'm stressing the word garden, not stressing the word in sa, the ending, which is making it a plural. So can I say that this sa that is accompanying garden to make it a plural is not a word? Because we will see in our later definition that it is not exactly a word but still a part of a word. Something that makes a word combined of two morphemes. But that is another discussion. Before that, we should be more worried about the phonological definitions of word. Look at the example. Jeans in the garden. Now here apostrophe s is the short form of Jane is in the garden. Now Jane's, when I am saying it, Jane's in the garden, I'm not stressing sa part, which is actually over here, what is a linking verb. So according to the definition of the word, verbs should be stressed. But why I'm not stressing sa? So this way, this creates problem. Should we not consider these function words as words? This is the primary concern of the people who object this phonological definition of the word word. Now our next concern is semantic definition. Semantic, study of meaning. So with respect to this discipline, we have the definition of the word. Word is something which has meanings. words are actually meaningful units. This is the quoted definition of the word word. Word is something which always has meaning. Words are expressed in unified concepts because they represent concepts. They are the minimum meaningful units of a language. They are something that represent meaning. They express certain things. They express certain concepts, like they express certain person names or places names or ideas or something which has certain image in our mind. So these are the words. This is the definition, semantic definition of the word word. But once again, we have problems with this semantic definition as well. What is that? Yes, we have problems with semantic definitions. Number one, concepts can be expressed by noun groups or larger units. Means sometimes the whole concept, it is not expressed with help of only one single group, noun. Rather it is expressed with the help of a noun group or a larger unit that is usually known as noun phrase. So the whole meaning is clear with the help of that noun group, not with the help of a single individual noun. For example, the man who lives next door. Now this is somehow the definition of the word neighbor, but if I want to say the man who lives next door, what about only the man is not conveying the whole meaning. Until and unless I want to convey the whole meaning, the man who lives next door, to talk about a person who is my neighbor. So this way, this whole combination of words is expressing a single meaning, that is neighbor. Similarly, that beautiful summer morning of 1985. Now the whole meaning is not about only one noun, that is summer, or one noun, that is evening, or one noun adjective, that is beautiful. Rather the whole meaning is expressed through the whole group, that is that beautiful summer morning of 1985. So this way, when we drove to the beach on an old CV2, so this way the words, they do not, as single words, they do not always convey the proper meaning. Yes, they convey, but not always. Sometimes to convey our meanings we use the combination of group. So if we accept the semantic definition of a word, then according to that semantic definition, if word is a meaningful unit, so according to that definition, should I accept this whole sentence as a whole phrase as a single word? For example, look at this: the man who lives next door. This is conveying the whole meaning for the word neighbor. So should I take it as a single word according to the semantic definition? Definitely I can't. So this is the problem with semantic definition. Another definition with semantic definition is of function words. Yes, once again, function words, they have certain functions within the sentences, but they do not have any content. So should I accept these function words not as words? But in reality, we call them words. Like the preposition and conjunctions and the interjection, they are the words. But if I accept the semantic definition, then they do not appear to be the words. So this way, the semantic definition, it has certain problems as well. Now, the syntactic definition of the word. So far we have seen the problems, the definitions, as well as the problems with orthographical, phonological and semantic definitions of the words. Now when we will move towards the syntactic definition, we have two areas. So I will have divided the definition of words with respect to syntax as 1 and 2 into two categories. Now what is the syntactic definition number 1 for the word word? According to it, words as syntactic units. I mean, words are something which in syntax of a sentence are unified, act as a whole. or we can say words are the smallest syntactic elements in a sentence. They belong to a certain word classes and follow the rules of these syntactic categories. Further, that words can be grouped into two main categories, that are open class words and the closed class words. What are the open class words? Classes of words which can contain an infinite number of words. Yes, what are these? Like nouns, lexical verbs, adjectives, adverbs. All of these types of words, they have infinite numbers of words. We have nouns, but we can have more nouns. We have adjectives, but as the language is changing, as the language is, the number of words in languages are increasing, similarly the number of adjectives can be increased. And similarly the adverbs. Over here I have a very nice example, if you have seen or read by Lewis Carroll, Alice Adventures in the Wonderland. So if you remember, there was a character who tells Alice a word like uglification, and that animal, it tells so many words to Alice which are actually were not existing in English language previously. But what happened, by using a root word that is ugly and by using different suffixes like leafication, he introduced a new word, uglification. And though it is not a standard word in English language, but still with the help of the root word we can get the meaning of this word. So this way, then we can say, and now when somebody says, yes, this thing is thing is an example of uglification, I will accept that. I will accept it. I will accept it somehow like word, because my knowledge about the words tells me that yes, there is something about ugliness. So this way, these categories of the words, like the nouns, adjectives, adverbs and verbs, they are always they are open to changes. They are open to add more additions. So they are open classes of the words. On the other hand, there are the closed classes. These are the number of the words which are already, most of the times, they are fixed, and a very few changes we can see in them, like the classes of prepositions and the conjunctions and articles and interjections. We see that there are only few additions in them, and most of the time there are the fixed numbers of prepositions and conjunctions and articles. In for example, in English language we have only 3 articles, a, an and the. So they are fixed. I don't think so. I'm putting a question mark on the future possibility, because possibilities are always there. But up till the moment there are fixed number of articles. So this is the closed class of the words. So according to this was the syntactic definition number one for the word. And these are the elements that describe the word. Now what is the another definition by syntax? There is another definition for the words. Only words and groups of words can be moved to a different position in a sentence. Yes, so the word is actually it can be a word, it can be a compound word as well. So the word is something, an entity that can be moved, and it can be only moved as a single unit from one place to another place. And we do it. For example, look at the sentence. She can ride the bike. Now to make a question statement, I can say, can she ride the bike? Now I have changed the position of can. I have moved the entity can from second place to the first place to make a question. So I can accept the word can as a word according to this definition. Now another example is for passivizations, like she brought the can opener. Now this was the definition with semantic and phonological and orthographical definition. Now if I look it, I will analyze it with all these perspectives. Now look at the sentence, she brought the can opener. If I accept the orthographical definition, then according to the orthographical definition, over here, especially the words can and opener, they are the two different words. But I know, my knowledge is telling me that this is a single compound noun, can opener, something which can open a can. So orthographical definition is not working. If I accept the phonological definition, once again the phonological unit, can opener, because the phonemes are different. Can is a different phoneme and opener is a different phoneme. So I will accept can and opener once again as two different words. Again, not justified. If I accept the semantic definition, again I know the can, there are certain meanings of the word can. Yes, a can, something in which we store something, a can made up of iron, or can is a verb or a link verb, auxiliary verb. So I have meanings for the word can. Similarly, I have meanings for the word opener as well. Opener, something which can open. So according to semantic perspective, again can and opener both are two different words. Again, the definition not working. So this way, these previous definitions, they were not working. But on the other hand, the syntactic definition, they are providing me a strong grip to get the definition of the word. What is a word? Number one, word can be a compound word according to syntactic definition, because they act as a whole, as a syntactic whole. And over here I know the can opener, it is a syntactic whole. Secondly, they accept the compound word, so can opener can be a one single word, that is a compound noun. And thirdly, because if I accept the rule number 2 for syntactic definition, that a word is something which can be moved together. So if there are two possibilities to move. If I move the word can and opener separately, then look at the below, the below two sentences, and then you will see that number one, the can was brought by her opener. Definitely a wrong one, because opener can was brought by her opener. Again, confusion is there, because I know that can and opener over here are standing for the single thing. So wrong thing. If I accept this definition, then my exact movement of the word can opener would be the can opener was brought by her. Now can opener, according to syntactic definition number 2, is acting as a single word. And as you know, according to your knowledge, that word, it is a compound noun and it is a single word. So this way, from all the perspectives, the syntactic perspective for defining a word is more valid, is more helpful. But again, question mark, there could be some problems, there could be certain issues, but till now, these definitions, the syntactic definitions, they help us a lot to define word, and to help us to identify the words inside the sentences, or the words inside the paragraphs, or words inside the essays. So the syntactic definition can help us to identify the words. So now we are quite clear with what word is. Now when we talk about the morphology, and other important thing, that is dictionary. Now where do you find a word? Most of the words. Yes, maybe I know a lot of words, but there is a single source where a lot of words are there. Dictionary. If you are getting confused why I'm saying this dictionary, not dictionary, which we Pakistani are usually habitual to say, then please check the dictionary. The exact pronunciation is dictionary. So dictionaries mean sources of the words. They are the sources of, they contain the largest number of words with respect to a language. We cannot find the maximum number of words inside the dictionaries. For example, open the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, 8th volume, and almost all words of the English language you can find in them. I'm not talking about the slangs and something like that, they have different meanings or cliches and idioms. Definitely they have their own dictionaries, but on the whole the simple words, they are comprised in one single dictionary. Similarly, and dictionaries, they are helpful to with respect to morphology, to get the morphological knowledge of a language, because they contain the maximum number of words with respect to a language. For Urdu, I have Ferozul Logat, an accepted edition of Urdu dictionary where I can find the maximum number of Urdu words. Similarly, for English, we have Oxford English dictionaries and Oxford Advanced Learners dictionaries. So on the whole, almost in all languages, which are found in written form, and today in this advanced period, we can have dictionaries. We can have dictionaries of French, we can have dictionary of Turkish, we can have a dictionary of Turkish or Chinese. Somebody says a word and I don't, in a French and or in a Spanish, delicioso, and I don't know the meaning, so I can have a Turkish or Spanish dictionary and I can check the meaning inside that. So dictionaries, they are actually the sources of the words. So to get the morphological knowledge, you need to have the knowledge of words, and to have the knowledge of the words, dictionaries are very helpful. If you have ever noticed that your English teachers, they are always advising you, please consult the dictionary for the meaning, please read dictionaries, because dictionaries, they add up your vocabulary, they help you to learn the maximum number of words with respect to languages, and this way we can learn languages. So to get morphological knowledge, the best sources are dictionaries. So far we have studied what are the words and what are the sources of the words. Now we are moving towards the types of words, because if we know what are the words, then we should know what are the types of words. There are actually two standard types of words, which are the content words and the function words. Now content words are the open classes, as I have mentioned previously as well, that they are the open class as we can add more words. So words that denote concepts, yes, like the concepts about objects, like the concepts about actions, and the concepts about attributes, and concepts about ideas. So these words, they have concepts attached to them. And definitely, what are the concepts of objects are called nouns, concepts of actions are called verbs, concepts of attributes, adjectives, and concepts of once again the ideas against the nouns, abstract nouns. So this way, in the content words, we can say that the content words are the classes of nouns, verbs, adjectives. Similarly, there are function words. Now function words, they are close classes, because we rarely have any addition of words in them, but what is the definition for them is that they exactly don't have a lexical meaning. You cannot tell me exactly what the meaning is exactly, but some obvious concepts are associated to it. So these are like conjunctions and, or, but. I know where to use a conjunction and, where to use a conjunction but, where is to use a conjunction or, but there is not something exact meaning for these words, or I cannot use these words as independently. If I say a word but, I am not conveying anything, because but is a conjunction, a joining word, which would be more helpful when I would be joining phrases, clauses, or sentences. But as a single entity, it does not have its own lexical meaning. So conjunctions, they are the function words. Similarly, pronouns are the function words, prepositions are the function words, interjections are the function words, and articles. So I can divide that the classes of grammar, they can be divided into two categories of content and function words. The content word, they are comprised of noun, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs as well. And function word, they are comprised of conjunctions, prepositions, pronouns, interjections, and articles. So these are the two standard types of words. Now when we talk about the types of words, this division of these two types of word that I have mentioned, the function and the content word, this means something which we have, this knowledge is unconsciously we have this knowledge. And the different tests of psychology and neurology, they have proved it. They have proved it that the human beings, with respect to their language, with respect to their particular language, they have the unconscious knowledge about this content and function words, and they differentiate them. To make it clear, I would like to take a small test. Now look at, read this and count the number of F's. I want to read it. These 4 lines. Line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. Yes. Now, how many F's are there? 3. Count them again. 6. Now, what happens if you have counted them as 6? Then you are no wonder ingenious. But if you have counted them 3, then you are a normal, common human being. Because the psychologists, they have taken certain tests and they came to know that the people, what they do, they count 3 F's. Because these 3 F's, they are existing in the content words. Yes, if you have counted them 3, you have taken 3 F's. 1 from the word finished, this F, 1 from the word files, and 1 F from the scientific. You have calculated these 3 F's. But you forgot to calculate, if you have counted as 3, you forgot to calculate this of F, this of F, and this of F. Now, according to psychologists, because these of, they do not have a direct meaning, they are the function words, so usually what happens that we unconsciously ignore them. So this way we calculate 3 F's, which are actually found in content word. So this way the psychologists and the neurolinguistics, they have proved that the human beings, they treat content words and function words differently, and this procedure is quite unconscious. Now, so far we have talked about morphology and the words. But traditionally, the term morphology refers to the study of morphemes. Actually, the word this branch of knowledge is named as study of morphemes. Morph was taken from the word morpheme and logy as the study. So, study of morphemes. This is the traditional definition of for morphology, the study of morphemes. So, morphology considers morphemes rather than words as elemental unit of grammatical structure. Now, don't be confused, no doubt about that in morphology we are concerned with words, we study words. But with respect to morphology, we further divide these words into morphemes, because for morphology, the smallest unit that we can study inside the words is morpheme. So it's very important to know now that what is a morpheme. There are different definitions for morpheme. The first one is morpheme is a minimal unit which cannot be broken down of meaning or grammatical function. This is the definition taken from the book of George Jules, The Study of Language, page 75, that with respect to syntactic and grammatical and semantic function, the minimal unit is known as morpheme. Similarly, a morpheme is a piece of phonological information that has a conventionalized meaning arbitrarily associated with it. Now, examples. Look at these words: talks, talked, talker, talking. These are all words. According to our knowledge, according to a separate syntactic definition, these are all words. But if I divide them further, because morphology is about the smallest meaningful unit, then this out of talks I can separate talk from s, that is talk and plus s, then talked, talk plus ed, then talker, talk plus again er, talking, talk plus ing. In all of these words, talk is the smallest meaningful unit, and that is a morpheme, a single morpheme. Similarly, s is creating a meaning when associated with talk, so s is also a morpheme. Talked, ed, giving it a concept of past tense, so ed is also creating meaning, a morpheme. Er, making talk a talker, so changing noun into some person who is talking, a person who can talk, so again changing the meaning, so er is also a morpheme. Ing is also a morpheme. So in all these words, talk is a one meaningful morpheme, and but at the same time all the words which are added with it, s, ed, er, ing, all the suffixes which we usually call them, they are also the morphemes. So this way the morphemes, they are the smallest unit, minimal unit of the syntactic or semantic function. Now morphemes can be analyzed in two ways: by dividing up with the help of hyphens. If we want to show that a word is comprised of different morphemes, then the one way is to divide the word in with the help of hyphen. Truthfulness, truth is one morpheme, full is one morpheme, ness is one morpheme. By another way to analyze is using a tree diagram. Truthfulness dividing into three morphemes. Truthfulness is one word, truthfulness is are three morphemes. Hyphen form divide into base form plus morphemes. For example, truth is one morpheme, truthful, truth and full two morphemes, truthfulness, truth, full and ness three morphemes. In tree forms, what we do, that again we divide words into its constituent morphemes, and then we identify their parts of speech, and then with the help of them we can draw a morphological tree structure to show that a word is comprised of different morphemes. For example, if you look at this picture, this is a tree diagram representation for the word greediness, comprised of three morphemes: greed, e and ness. Now identifying morpheme, some examples I have shown you. Look at the first word, tourist. Now tourist, tour, ist and s. Tour, something you have meaning visit, one morpheme. Ist, we use ist to show a person who does something. For example, biologist, chemist. So ist means a person who does something with respect to previous root word. So ist is a morpheme, and s is making it a plural, so s is a morpheme. So tourist word is comprised of three morphemes: tour, is and s. Similarly, reopen, re one morpheme, open one morpheme, and ed another morpheme. Reopened, one single word comprised of three morphemes. But now what is the relationship between words and morphemes? The previous examples, they have made it quite clear that words, they are a bit larger than morphemes, and morphemes, they are smallest particles inside words. So words actually they are made up of morphemes. This is the relationship you can define between words and morphemes, that there is a hierarchical relationship between the words and morphemes. Words are actually made up of one or more morphemes. Now it's not necessarily that one word should have one or two morphemes. No, sometimes it happens that one word and one morpheme. For example, word greed. Now greed is a one word, but at the same time greed is a single morpheme. So one word, one morpheme. But if I say greedy, then greedy one word, but inside one word greed is one morpheme and e is another morpheme. So one word greedy containing two morphemes, greed and E. So similarly, the word they can have one or more than one morphemes. There is a hierarchical relationship between words and morphemes. Now most commonly these morphemes are strung together or concatenated. Now concatenated is a word which means to make a chain, to make in such a way that it creates a chain. So they are in concatenated form in a line. For example, sweet, sweeter, sweetest. Now sweet, single word, single morpheme. Sweeter, single word but made up of two morphemes, sweet and er. Sweetened, again single word but made up of morphemes, three morphemes, sweet and ed. So this way we have a hierarchical, concatenated relationship, a linear relationship between the morphemes and words. But on the other hand, we can have irregular forms as well. They are known as non-concatenative morphemes. For example, eat, eaten, eat, ate, eaten. Now eat, eater, not correct. Eat, ate is the second form of verb. Similarly, good, gooder, goodest, wrong, because we know that good, better, best. So this way there are irregular and non-concatenated morphemes inside a word sometimes, and sometimes there are linear or coordinated morphemes inside the words. So words are made up of morphemes. Bank, one word, one morpheme. Childish, one word, two morphemes, child and ish. Forgiveness, one word but made up of three morphemes, for, give and ness. So this is the relationship between words and morphemes. According to Strang 1968, a word consists of one or more morphemes. One or more morphemes constitute a word. Below this, on a scale of meaningful division, we cannot go. Definitely, for the word example, childish, one word, two morphemes, child and ish. Can you further divide childish into, if I say ch is one and l is one and d is one and ish is one? No, not possible, because I know ch is not having any meaning. IL individually is not having a meaning. A morpheme is a smallest unit, but at the same time it is a meaningful unit. It has meaning, or it creates some type of meaning. As we are talking about the relationship between morphemes and words, so the decomposition of words into morphemes illustrate one of the fundamental aspects of human language. According to Fromkin, this relationship is known as discreteness. Discreteness in language. And in all languages, discrete linguistics units combine in rule-governed ways to form larger units. How? Sound units combine to form morphemes. Morphemes combine to form words. Words combine to form phrases, sentences. Sentences, phrases combine to form sentences. Sentences are combined to form paragraphs. Paragraphs are combined to form the whole written unit. So this way we have a discreteness characteristics of language with the help of, which is quite clear with this hierarchical relationship between morphemes and words. Now another relationship, morpheme and phoneme. Phoneme, smallest unit in phonology. Morpheme, smallest unit in morphology. So morphemes and phonemes, what is their relationships? Actually the morphemes, they are realized in phonemic form. Example, now cat. Cat has three sounds, ka, a and ta. So we can say that cat is a single morpheme comprised of three phonemic units. So this way phonemic units, they combined to create morphemes. Single morphemes can be realized in different phonemic shapes. For example, making plural by adding s. For boat, word boat, if I make s, boats, something different. But if I say train and add an s to make plural, then the sound would be trains. So it's not necessary that if we have same morpheme, then it would be the same phonemic. Sometimes for morphemic and phonemic units, they are not they are mismatching, but still they have some sort of relationships. And between morpheme and phoneme, the relationship is that morphemes are identified with the help of phonemes. Another terminology that is quite in use nowadays, that is of lexeme. With respect to a branch of discipline nowadays quite popular, lexicography, lexical semantics or lexical phonology and something like that. So this way, this word lexeme is quite popular. Now, what is the relationship between morpheme and lexeme? Lexeme refers to a single word and all of its forms. Now, if I say one lexeme, it can contain so many words or a single word sometime. For example, if I say go, now word go, we can have goes, we can have going, we can have went, we can have going. So this way, we can say that lexeme is go, words are goes, going, go, gone, went, and morphemes are further inside the words. So lexeme, you can consider it as at the top level. At the top level we have lexeme, inside lexemes we have words, and inside words we have morphemes. Morphemes are the smallest unit of meaning a word can be broken down into. For example, the word cats. Now in cat there are two morphemes, cat and sa, because cat is one single morpheme and sa making it a plural, a meaningful unit, so it is another morpheme. Now again, to differentiate that, not to confuse between lexeme and morpheme, there are certain distinctions. Number one, lexemes belong to open classes. Morphemes usually belong to closed classes because they are fixed. Lexemes do not allow zero or empty forms. Morphemes, they allow zero morphemes. How? Consider the example of sheep. Now sheep singular, and if I make a plural, again sheep plural. So to make a plural, what I am adding? Because usually we add like something like s or en, or different things are there, or es sometimes to make a plural. But in sheep I don't add anything to make it a plural. So in the morphologists, they say that when this sheep, it is converted from singular to plural form, zero morpheme is added. So this concept of zero morpheme is only found within morpheme with respect to morphemes and not in lexemes. Lexemes have extra grammatical reference, mean beyond structures and beyond pragmatics, but morphemes, they are strictly have grammatical functions. Finally, lexemes are not paradigmatic, but morphemes, they are paradigmatic. So why do we need morphological study? The study of how words are composed from smaller, meaningful bearing units, morphemes, is a quite helpful knowledge, because this knowledge, it helps us in many ways. For example, it helps us to correct our spellings. For example, we know that reference, R-E-F-E-R-E-N-C-E, this is the correct spelling and not R-E-F-R-E-N-C as we phonologically assume. Similarly, they help us to make hyphenation algorithm. For example, reference. So we can divide them with the help of hyphens. Then we can analyze the parts of speech. For example, Googler, Google. From the word Google, we have Googler. A person who is Googling is known as Googler, noun. Googling, a verb. So we can identify the parts of speech with the help of morphological structure. Similarly, text to speech relationship mean grapheme to morpheme, and then phoneme to morpheme. This relationship is important. Grapheme, don't confuse this word. Grapheme is for is from the word graphicology, which is about the written alphabets of the language. So this way the knowledge of morphology is very much important. So what we have studied today? We have studied today about morphology, and inside the morphology about the words, types of words, and then about the smallest meaningful unit, syntactic unit or semantic unit, that is morpheme. And we also studied the relationship of morphemes with words, with lexemes, and with phonemes. And inshallah, next week we will continue with morphology, and we will continue with the concept of morphemes and its different types. So see you next week, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.